Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Faizan. In this short video, I'm going to discuss the concept of PPC, which is the production possibility curve. It is also known as the production possibility frontier. So it's a very good concept that we kind of discuss in the economics class, and it's not that difficult. Once you've understood what is demand, what is supply, and the law of equilibrium, this is the next step to that. So before I begin, I will actually give you a small example, and it's a funny example to be honest. So imagine you are of course a young student. Imagine that you have free time on a weekend, let's say Sunday, and there are two things you can choose to do. So I'm going to think of these two things as A and B. So in my mind, I have a funny example about eating pizzas or eating candies, and how much can you eat in 1 hour, right? But that's like a little funny example. So I'll go to more serious, little more serious. So imagine that you are on a Sunday, and because on a Sunday you are free, so you have two tasks. Either you can upload a YouTube video. So this A will be uploading. Uploading means you have to record and basically do everything before uploading a video. So you can either upload a video, so that will basically take you some time. And what you can do is you can sort of help your grandma in sewing a hat or sewing a winter clothes like a sweater or anything. I'm not sure if this is something that you already know, but think of another task that is similar, but it is more time taking, right? Recording is simple. You can record a short video in 2 minutes. So maybe you can record 10 shorts videos. I'm referring to shorts because it takes 2 minutes, 3 minutes, the final one. Or you can record five, or you can record two, or you can record one. So remember, this is uploading a short video, right? Short video. So think of this that you can spend the whole day doing 10 short videos. But if in that case, the other task could be, let's say, cooking a meal that takes a full day. Biryani might take 4 hours or 3 hours, but I'm not sure if you know to cook biryani. But think of, let's say, you're baking something, making a red velvet pastry or something. It takes some time, right? So if you do choose to do this task, then this task will not happen because the time that you have is just few hours in that day. But if you reduce the time that you actually want to spend on your short video, what you can actually do is you can perhaps uh, have some time and you can make the pastry that you want to make. But in that case, you might limit the quantity because the limited quantity of because of the time constraint that you have. So maybe you can make two pastries, right? So look at these two cases. The moment you actually moved from 10 short videos, the amount of time you had for making pastries was nothing but zero. But when you reduce this to 5, which is 10 to 5, what is happening is the amount of time that you now have is little more. So you have some time because you have some time left because the quantity of videos is recorded is now 5. And therefore you choose to sort of bake pastries. And this is like similar thing that follows, but numbers I will change. Okay. So this is just for your clarification. This would mean that I'm going to have four, right? Four red velvet pastries in that specific amount of time. In this case, it means I'm going to have six red velvet pastries in that specific amount of time. Wonderful. So this table is basically going to be a basis for you to understand this chart, which is known as PPC, right? This chart is known as what? It's known as PPC. This chart is known as PPC. But this is a table which is going to be a basis for you to make this chart. So let's see how it is a basis for you making the chart. And there's something more interesting that I will show you. So keep engaged, right? Okay, wonderful. So I'm going to make these numbers, plot these numbers in the x and the y-axis, which is something that you already know what is an x-axis, y-axis, because you will deal with this in different subjects, and economics also you're going to deal with this. So this is representing your YouTube shorts. Okay, this is representing your YouTube short videos. Although I don't say you should watch a lot of shorts, but it's up to you. But just be careful, be sensible. So YouTube Shorts, and this is like starting from 1, 2, 5, 10. And from the same point of view, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the y-axis the number of pastries that you can make in that specific amount of time that you have. So what is the number of pastries? You can either make 0, or you can make 4, or you can make 6. We'll keep this empty for now. Right. So what I've done is I've gotten some data in this table, right? I've gotten some data points 10, 0, 5, 2, 2, 4, 1, 6, and refer to A and B because if you get confused, because that is the more important part. So I will also specify here making pastry, you're baking, oven, and so on. Time consuming is my time. It's a time consuming thing to make a pastry, as you know, if you have made one. If not, you can make one. Anyway, so now I'm going to join the points. So for instance, if I have 0, what is this 0? This 0 is actually pastry. For corresponding to 0, the number of this you have is actually 10, right? So you're going to have this particular point over here. And I will have to also, I'll show you one thing. We'll redraw this particular aspect from the table that we now have, because earlier I wanted to show you how does a PPC look. Looks like a small curved line. Okay. So for 6, what is the number of, it's 1, right? So let's make a dot here. From here, I'm looking at this chart. For 6, the corresponding number is 1. Making a dot over here, and maybe I'll put a green color or blue color so that it's more clear. So uh, look at this. Yes, this combination, right? So just doing it so that it's more visible. So this is one point that you have now. Now what I can do is just be careful. Similar to this 6 and 1, I'm going to use 2 and 4. So this is 2, this is 4, and 5 and 2, which is this, and 10 and 0, right, which is this. Let us join these points, and it is going to look like this, right? It is not going to be a straight line. It will never be a straight line. It is always going to be a curved line, right? And make a note of this chart. There's something that I want to tell you. Once you have drawn this chart, I'm going to draw two specific points. And before I do that, I'm also show you that these two specific points can be, yeah, these two specific points can be inside, or it can be this A, right? Or maybe I'll just put a normal ink. So this particular point A is outside. We call this something that is unattainable, because you can never have something of a combination of A. A means that it will correspond to some number which is very higher than 6, and also corresponding to some number in the YouTube Shorts, which is not possible. But if I have two specific points, let's call it B and let's call it C. Notice how they are different from A. These 2 points, B and C, are actually inside of the chart, right? Now, if they are inside of the chart, what can happen is it means that your B and C combinations are not efficient, right? We call this, maybe I'll write it over here, not efficient. Efficient is important because what does efficient really mean? It means you're not using your potential fully. So look, and why is that? There's a reason to that. If you look at B, it corresponds to some number like 3 over here, and it corresponds to some number like 1 over here. But the chart, or this curve, tells me that when I'm producing one YouTube short, I'm able to produce six pastries. And I love to eat pastries. So 6 pastries. Why would you produce 3 if you can produce 6? That's my point, right? Therefore this is not efficient. And finally, we don't have much time. Maybe I'll give you one concept. This concept is known as slope, which is nothing but there is this term which is like MRT XY, because XY is the name of the lines. I can recall MR. There's a bad name of this company, but this will not make sense to you at this school stage. But I'll tell you what it is. इसका जो full form होता है वो होता है, the full form of this is marginal rate. It's the declining rate, because the slope is in a fashion of a curved line. So it's the marginal rate of transformation. marginal rate of transformation. Okay, what is this? This is a marginal rate of transformation. अब अगर मैं now if I tell you what is the marginal rate of transformation, so what is indicates is it's a marginal rate of transformation of x good with respect to y good. That's why it is x and y of good x good. In this case, I'll tell you what it is. Good x with respect to WRT with respect to y good. इसमें कुछ ज्यादा दिमाग नहीं लगाना. What you have to do essentially is you can think of x as what we already discussed in this chart. Look at this chart, or you can also look at the graph. So the x here was YouTube Shorts, right? It was what? It was YouTube Shorts. Look at this. It was YouTube Shorts. This one. But the y was essentially. I'll also write it over here. This y we know was pastry, right? It was pastry. So this y was nothing but pastry. So right? So what I'm going to do is you have to understand why is this marginal rate of transformation, and is it positive or is it negative, and how do we figure that out? So it's nothing but if you look at the graph, I'm drawing a small replica. It's something like this. So you can we normally do this in higher classes, but for this in your syllabus, I'm just giving you some idea. Let's take 2 points. Point is E and F. If you compare point E and point F, okay, you will realize that I can also join these points like this. Okay, if I join these points, the line is something like this. Take this from here to here, you will see the line is like this. Any line which is tilted towards the left, any line is tilted towards, not the right is like this, tilted towards the left, this, right? This is essentially something that we call as a negative slope line. Any line that's tilted towards the left. इसका मतलब ये होता है कि जब आप when you will move from point E to point F, what will happen is the decrease or the increase. The decrease is happening where? In the Y part, because we're moving from here to here, and the increase is happening in the E part because we're moving from one horizontal point to another horizontal point, like point E to point F. थोड़ा सा there is a horizontal distance. So this tells you that basically the decrease is basically going to be lesser. So whatever is a decrease here, the magnitude or the quantity, this increase is far higher. That's the whole point, and therefore it's a negative slope line, right? So the overall idea is that later on you will learn this in maths, but I'll not go to maths. Let's keep it to economics. This part will always be less than this part. So your increase in the x is far more as compared to the decrease that is happening in the e part, and that's specific to the data. That just give you technical aspects. वो depend करता है, that depends on the table data, right? So we'll not go into so much details. There's so many concepts around this that I can build on, but from the basics, we'll recap. The basics is about law of demand, law of supply, and then you understand what PPC is, right? So, well, thank you for listening. I hope you like this video, and please drop a feedback. Thank you.